All right, so you sent over this info on West LA Computer Expert. And honestly, I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
It's not every day we get to play digital detective and see what we can learn about a business.
Right.
Just from their public image.
Yeah, just their online footprint.
No insider info here.
Yeah.
Just what anyone could find online.
Right.
So what do you think is the most interesting thing about them at first glance?
For me, it's the variety of services they offer.
Oh, really?
You'd think computer expert equals, fixing screens running a virus scam.
Right, the basic stuff.
But West LA Computer Expert goes way beyond that.
Okay,
We're talking custom-built PCs, intricate network setups,
Wow.
even data recovery.
Ooh, that's a big one.
The kind of stuff that makes most people's eyes glaze over.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's essential.
Yeah, it really is. It's like they're a one-stop shop for anything tech-related.
I think that's a great way to put it.
Building a custom PC that's not just about swapping out parts.
No.
That's understanding compatibility on like a deep level.
Absolutely. It's a lot more than meets the eye.
And data recovery. I've heard horror stories
Oh, tell me about it.
about lost files. So I bet being able to actually get that stuff back
Right.
is a huge relief for people.
Huge relief. They must be magicians over there.
Right.
It speaks to a level of expertise beyond just, using software.
Yeah, for sure.
Think about it with data recovery. You're dealing with potentially damaged hard drives.
Yeah.
Different file systems, maybe even encryption.
Oh, wow. So you really have to know what you're doing.
Absolutely specialized tools and knowledge, not something your average tech enthusiast can handle.
Makes you wonder what kind of training or background this Dan person has
Right.
to be able to offer all this.
I'm very curious myself.
Okay, so we've established they're not just your basic reset, the router kind of tech support.
Definitely not.
What else stood out to you about their online presence?
Their availability was pretty striking.
Oh, really? How
Now-
so?
Open 7 days a week, 8 a.m. to 9 p.m.
Wow. That is a wide window.
And they mentioned the possibility of same-day service.
No kidding.
If you call before noon.
That's impressive.
That's a pretty strong signal about how they operate.
Definitely catering to people who rely on their tech for everything.
Oh, absolutely.
It goes against the typical business model, right?
You would think so.
You'd think the goal is to get as many paid appointments as possible.
Maximize that revenue.
But this suggests a different approach.
It does.
Maybe prioritizing building trust and goodwill over maximizing immediate profit.
I think you're onto something.
Almost like taking a long-term view.
Exactly.
Help someone out today. Maybe they'll become a loyal customer down the line.
Makes sense. And it makes you wonder how many other businesses would have taken the time to do that.
Right.
Especially when it's a potential customer they haven't even met yet.
Okay, so we've got potentially generous, maybe even a bit altruistic.
Seems like it.
What other clues do we have about Dan's approach to business?
There's that story from Michael,
Michael.
who was struggling with some really old software on his brand new laptop.
Oh, the irony.
It just wouldn't work. And he was at his wit's end.
Oh, I've been there.
And this was on a Sunday.
Oof. Not exactly prime time for tech support.
Not at all. So what happened?
Dan still managed to remotely access Michael's computer
Wow.
and fix the issue even though it involved digging around in legacy systems
Yeah.
that most people have probably never even heard of.
Now that's dedication going above and beyond what's expected, even on a weekend.
For sure.
You don't just stumble into that level of knowledge about outdated software.
Absolutely not.
So clearly this guy knows his stuff.
Oh, yeah. A deep well of knowledge there. Right. It suggests a deep understanding of different operating systems, compatibility issues,
Right, all the little quirks.
all the little things that can trip you up.
Exactly, when you're dealing with technology that spans decades.
That's right.
This isn't just about following a script or Googling a solution. It's about real problem-solving skill. That's true, but it's fascinating to see how much we can infer about someone just from their online footprint and the experiences shared by others.
And it begs the question.
What question is that?
In an age of faceless tech giants and automated support systems,
Right.
what's the real value of a local expert like this?
That's a question worth exploring.
Let's dive into that in part 2.
I'm ready when you are. Yeah, it is a fascinating contrast.
Is it?
On one hand, you have these massive tech corporations.
Right, the big guys.
With practically unlimited resources, huge support teams, online forums.
And let's not forget those AI chatbots
Oh, yeah.
that are supposed to solve all your problems.
Right, the magic bullet.
But somehow never quite understand what you're actually asking.
Exactly. It's like talking to a wall sometimes.
Totally.
So you'd think those giants would have the advantage, right?
It seemed that way.
But then you have someone like Dan
Right.
operating on a much smaller scale,
Yeah.
relying more on personal relationships and word-of-mouth referrals.
It's a different approach for sure.
Makes you wonder, is there still a place for that kind of personalized approach?
Mm-hmm. In today's tech landscape.
It's a good question.
It's almost like that old saying, nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care.
I love that.
And judging by those testimonials, people really feel like Dan cares about solving their problems,
Yeah, they feel seen.
not just processing them like another ticket in the queue.
Right. He's not just checking boxes.
That human touch can be invaluable,
Absolutely.
especially when you're dealing with something as potentially stressful as a tech meltdown.
Oh, yeah. Stress levels go through the roof.
Imagine you've lost access to important files,
The panic.
or your computer's behaving erratically.
I can feel my blood pressure rising just think that we've forgotten the value of expertise and tailored support.
I think it depends on what you're looking for.
That's a good point.
If you're comfortable troubleshooting basic issues yourself, maybe those online resources are enough.
Sure. For simple stuff.
But what if you're dealing with something more complex?
Right.
Something that requires specialized knowledge or physical intervention.
Or what if it involves sensitive data
Oh, that's a good point.
that you wouldn't trust to just anyone?
Right, like your financial information.
Exactly. Think about it. We entrust these devices with so much of our personal and professional lives.
Our photos, our finances, our work documents.
It's all in there.
Is it worth cutting corners when it comes to protecting that information?
That's something to consider seriously.
Good point. It's easy to get caught up in saving a few bucks.
It is.
But when it comes to something as vital as our data, maybe peace of mind is worth a slightly higher price tag.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
And that's where the value proposition of someone like Dan becomes clear.
Right, it's more than just the price.
He's not just selling a service, he's selling trust, reliability, and expertise.
And there's another aspect to consider, one that goes beyond the individual customer.
Okay, I'm listening.
The impact on the community.
Oh, that's an important angle.
Yeah. Supporting local businesses like West LA Computer Expert keeps money circulating within the neighborhood.
It does. It's good for the local economy.
Helps create jobs.
Yeah, keeps people employed.
And fosters a sense of local entrepreneurship.
Absolutely. It's about investing in the ecosystem of your own neighborhood.
When you choose a local expert, you're not just getting your computer fixed. You're contributing to the economic and social fabric of your community.
I like that it's a bigger picture perspective.
So it's not just about tech, it's about values.
Like West LA Computer Expert can adapt to your specific needs much more quickly.
They don't have to go through all those hoops and improve.
Exactly. They can just get things done.
So it's less about competing head-to-head and more about carving out a niche.
I think that's a good way to look at it.
Like the tech giants or the supermarkets offering a wide selection of generic solutions.
Right, mass production.
While someone like Dan is the specialty shop catering to those who need something more tailored.
Like a bespoke suit.
Exactly.
And just like there's still a demand for artisan bakers and local farmers markets, I think there will always be a place for those tech experts who offer a more personalized, hands-on approach.
Especially for people who are maybe less tech savvy, who feel intimidated by all the jargon and complexity.
It can be overwhelming.
They want someone who can speak their language.
Yeah, someone who can break it down for
They
them.
can hold their hand through the process and make it feel less overwhelming.
Exactly like a trusted guide.
And let's not forget the human element.
That's so important.
A lot of tech support these days is moving towards automation. Those chatbots I mentioned earlier.
Right, the robots are taking over.
But sometimes what you really need is a real person
Someone who gets it.
who can empathize with your frustration,
Yeah, who understands the pain.
who can understand the impact this problem is having on your life.
Because it's not just about the technology, it's about the people.
You know, that reminds me of a story.
Oh, tell me.
A few years ago, my dad's computer crashed,
Oh, no.
and he lost a bunch of photos and videos from a family trip.
Oh, that's heartbreaking.
He was devastated. I tried to help him recover the files, but I just couldn't figure it out.
It happens.
Finally, we took it to a local computer shop, and the guy there, he was just so kind and patient.
Ah, that's nice to hear.
He spent hours working on it.
If you just want it done fast,
But if you value that personal touch, that sense of trust and understanding, then maybe a local expert like Dan is a better fit.
someone who's got your back.
Ultimately, the choice is yours. But hopefully this deep dive has given you some food for thought, some things to consider beyond just the technical specs and the price tag.
Because sometimes the most valuable things aren't always the most obvious.
That's a great point. And on that note, it's time for us to sign off.
Until next time, keep exploring and stay curious.